A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa ba'd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So we are the group 4, which is our topic is about equity-based financing. So my assigned topic is the introduction of our topic. So, generally, the bank acts as a financial intermediary between lenders and the borrowers by connecting savers to borrowers via various financial products. Banks mobilize funds that impact on economic activity. However, Islamic financial institutions are less straightforward because of the Sharia. Sharia prohibits a certain transactions. So, generally daw, no, ang bank is nagiging tagapamagitan, or siya yung nagiging kasangkapan or instrument, no, na kung saan is nagiging kumbaga siya yung nagiging kasangkapan ng mga taong nanghihiram at nagpapahiram, no, which is yung ganong paraan ng legal na paraan ng paghiram is nakakaapekto sa ekonomiya, sa economic status ng isang bansa or sa isang taong nanghiram. However, no, in Islamic institution or sa Islamic financing, no, mayroong mga certain things na kailangang isaalang-alang. It is because ang Islamic financial banking or is a way of Islamic na pamamaraan, we are considering the Sharia law. So, lahat ng mga ginagawa natin or lahat ng moves natin when it comes to borrowing money and at the same time yung pagpapahiram natin sa tao and then yung income na nakukuha natin as nagpapahiram and that is dapat nakasalang-alang din sa Sharia law. So, yun yung ibig niyang sabihin. So another thing, no, Islam prohibits making money by money, and thus all transaction must not involve any interest. So sa Sharia, ang Sharia law is mariing pinagbabawal ng Sharia yung any transactions or lahat ng transactions na involve or may kinalaman sa interest. So yung mga 5-6 na tinatawag, yung mga ganyan is bawal yan. Ipinagbabawal yan ng Sharia. Or any transactions na kapag ka nagpautang ko or nagpalabas ng pera si boss or yung nagpapautang and then ang balik sa kanya is mayroon ng certain additional amount which is na hindi na minsan is hindi na makatao. So yun yung pinagbabawal yun ng Sharia. So according to Quran, no, based sa Quran naman, no, Allah has permitted trade and has forbidden interest or yung tinatawag na usri. So nakalagay sa Quran, no, na hinahayaan daw ng Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala ang mga tao na mamuhunan or makipagkalakalan, provided na yung pinamumuhunan natin or pinamumuhunan ng tao is walang kapalit na interest. Mayroong income, mayroong yung tubo, pero hindi siya nasa malinis na paraan. So kung halimbawa, pag namuhunan ka is hindi yung nagpapautang ka ng pera and then ang balik sa iyo is mayroong certain amount. So, meron siyang pinagbabawal yan ng Sharia. So, In the same reason why Islamic banking derives its profit by real economic activities by means of trading and investment. So given that the Sharia is equally prohibits charging and paying interest. So uh, ang pangunahing dahilan no kung bakit ang Islamic banking ay kumukuha ng tubo nito mula sa mga tunay na activity tunay na yung mga real estate na activity is para makatulong na maiangat ang ekonomiya no sa pamamagitan ng pamumuhunan na tinatawag. So meaning sa Sharia or sa Islamic banking, kailangan pag nagpalabas ka ng pera, we all know na meron talagang babalik sa atin. However, yung mga considerations na tinatawag na which is in line sa Sharia law is kailangan masunod natin no to avoid yung riba na tinatawag. So we all know maraming tayong examples ng riba no, maraming way ng riba at isa sa pinaka-clear talaga which is very rampant nowadays na ginagawa ng tao is yung 5-6. So yung paghalimbawa, yun nga according sa Sharia, no, pinagbabawal ng Sharia law yung making money by money. So pag nagpahiram ka ng certain amount, then ang balik sa iyo ay yung amount din. Diba, nagpahiram ka ng 100,000 and yung balik sa'yo is 110,000. So, yung 10,000 is considered as riba. So, making money by money. So, namuhunan ka ng pera, babalik sa iyo ng pera at mas malaki, which is hindi pa makatao. So, sa ganung paraan, no, hindi natin natutulungan yung ating kapwa, bagkus mas nailulugmok natin sila sa kahirapan, which is strictly prohibited. So, yes, prohibited by the Sharia law. So, sa Islamic banking, kailangan pag nagpapahiram tayo ng pera or namuhunan tayo, it's normal na kailangan meron tayong ma-earn from that yung puhunan natin. However, certain considerations in line with Sharia law should be imposed, should be implied doon sa pamumuhunan natin. And at the same time, pag ikaw na nanghiram, kailangan you should know your part as well. So pag nagpahiram ka, and then alam mo naman, magsasabi ka lang na ay, dahil naman bawal naman sa Sharia yung interest, no, bawal naman sa Sharia yung sisingilin ako ng puwersahan, no, kahit na alam kong hindi ko pa kayang magbayad sa ganito. So kailangan we must know the part of each side. So ikaw na nagpapautang, you should know na yung pauutangin mo has that capacity to pay yung pinahiram mo. And at the same time, you, no, bilang nangungutang, you should know your responsibility. So, kasi nga 'di ba, we all know na kailangan talaga natin yung hindi natin alam na yung nagpapautang or nagpahiram sa iyo ng pera is kailangan din niya yung pera niya. So, although merong yung consideration na tinatawag sa Sharia law is nandoon, but we must know our part. We must know our responsibilities from side ng nagpapautang and sa side ng nangungutang.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So this is the continuation of report ni Alvin Matabalaw Bakar. So my report is equity-based financing. So under Islamic banking, there are two main field of financing. So under sa Islamic banking, mayroong dalawang main field of financing. One is the equity-based financing. So ang equity-based financing ay ito yung proseso ng kapital na pagbebenta ng mga shares upang ito ay lumago. So, example na lang ay mga kumpanya na kulang sa puhunan or lubog sa utang na kailangan nilang ibenta ang shares sa kumpanya at ang kapalit ay cash upang ito ay makadagdag sa pangangailangan nila at upang ito ay lumago. So ang pangalawa The second is debt-based financing. So ang alam naman natin ng debt ay utang, na ang utang ay ito yung paghihiram ng pera sa may kaya o yung paghihiram ng pera sa may pera. Dahil ang utang ay may malawak na pag-uusap galing dito sa Islamic banking. Dahil ang utang ay ina-allow lang ito sa may mga taong kaya itong bayaran. Yung mga taong may pinagkukuhanan ng pera upang mabayaran nila yung kanilang mga utang. So, ang utang, alam naman natin ang utang ay may punishment yan. So, need talaga, like example ng loan. So, ang loan ay ina-allow lamang ang loan na utang sa mga taong alam naman na kaya itong bayaran, sa mga taong may mga trabaho. So inaala lang ang utang sa mga alam naman natin na kaya itong bayaran. So financing, this mode of financing primarily differ from conventional financing. So this mode, ito ay financing primarily differ. So, magkaiba ito sila sa conventional financing. Ang Islamic financing and the conventional financing ay magkaiba. Dahil ang Islamic ay ang source nito ay Sharia, na ang Sharia ay ang source ay Sunnah wal Quran. And the conventional financing ay ang source nila ay sa politics. So alam naman natin na ang Islamic ay umiiwas sa mga haram na gawain. Ang Islamic or Sharia or ang source na yung Sunnah wal Quran ay umiiwas sa mga haram. So due to their avoidance of interest. So iniiwasan ito gamit para sa maiwasan ang interest, yung mga interest. Like 5-6 or yan mga 5-6. So iniiwasan po yan, iniiwasan yan ng Islamic banking. So there are two varieties of equity-based financing: profit and loss sharing. So there are two varieties of profit and loss sharing. One is the musharaka and two is the mudaraba. So i-report ito ng next report. So syukran and wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Mukalidin Kumiling from Bais 4B. This is the continuation of our report. Growth 4. Musharraka, Sharing Equity Business Partnership Joint Venture. In Musharraka, both practice ay nagbibigay ng contribution fund or capital. Gagawin ng business and then hati din sila sa profit at loss. Ibig sabihin, mapapositive and negative side ng ginawa niyong business na magka-partners ay dalawa kayong aayos doon. The profit ratio is determined according to the agreement of the partners and not necessary according to their capital contribution. This could depend on how much each partner contributes to the partnership beyond their capital share. So, yung paghatian nyo na profit ay nakadepende sa agreement na pinagsasang-ayunan yung dalawa at hindi sa rate ng kapital na binigay nyo. However, the losses must be determined according to the percentage of one's share in the investment. Okay, so yung mga losses or damage na encounter sa business partnership nyo is determined according sa percentage ng share nyo sa capital or investment nyo. Scholars agree. IJMA on the equal division of loss in accordance with the ratio of each investor. The profit return to each partner shall reflect the actual profile made by the enterprise as opposed to asset income. So, siyempre, ang profit business nyo ay mapupunta sa dalawang magka-partner, which is kailangan nasa tama or walang mangyayaring dayaan dito. Partners may contribution cash or assets toward the partnership. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang kusang pwedeng i-contribute. Pwede ring mga assets or ari-arian like lupa na pagtayuan ng business nyo. But their contribution ratio shall be determined according to the value of the assets.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mujahida Mangoramas and my assigned topic is home purchase and diminishing musharaka. Diminishing musharaka is an idea or alternative for the interest-based financing with far-reaching effect on both production and distribution. The ratio of ownership keep changing, and the closest term in conventional finance is redeemable capital. Diminishing musharaka. This method can be used in a purchasing property or asset such as machinery for a factory. For example, under diminishing musharaka contract, the bank or financer and the client become partners. Meaning, ang pamamaraan ito ay maaaring gamitin sa pagbili ng ari-arian or asset tulad lamang ng mga machinery for a factory. And for example, is under diminishing musharaka contract, since the diminishing musharaka is joining together, the bank and the client will become a partners. The client must be provided as a significant amount of funds, example 20% to purchase the house with the bank. The bank in this case owns the other 80%, which the client will pay over time in installment. Since the client will be living in the house, they will pay on top of the installment in certain percentage, 8% in rent or ijara, to the bank for the share the bank owns. Meaning, ang client ay dapat magbigay ng nagahalagang 20% sa kanyang funds or pondo para makabili ng bahay sa bangko. In this case, ang bank ay nagmamay-ari ng iba pang 80% na bayaran ng client over time in installments. Since the client will be living in the house, ay magbabayad siya ng installment nasa 8% o renta or ijara sa bangko. Para sa bahagi ng pagmamay-ari ng bangko, magbabayad ang client ng rent para bayad na doon sa share na bangko sa pagbili ng bahay na yon. Over time, the client will own more equity in the house until it is completely bought, while the rent will decrease as the bank diminish. Sa paglipas ng panahon, ang client ay magmamay-ari ng more equity sa house, since binabayaran niya ito every month sa bank hanggang sa maging ganap na niyang nabili, habang ang renta dito ay pababa ng pababa habang paliit na ng paliit ang natitira sa share ng bank sa bahay na yon. So, ang example ng home purchase o ang pagbili ng bahay is, halimbawa na lang is, si John is matagal na niyang pangarap na magkaroon ng bahay. Pero, wala siyang sapat na pondo para makabili ng bahay. So, nag-decide siyang mag-approach sa bank to gather home loan. Tapos, sinubukan niyang mag-approach in Islamic bank. Since itong diminishing musharaka is under the Islamic bank. So, nag-approach siya para malaman kung may possibility ba na makabili siya ng bahay through installment. Then, the Islamic bank explained the concept o ang pagkakaintindi nila sa home financing is Ang pagkakaintindi daw ng Islamic bank sa home financing is a true partnership which is the bank and the customer. The bank and the customer will join keep para makabili ng bahay na gusto ng client or ng customer. So, ang customer ay magbibigay ng certain value as he share while the bank will contribute the bank amount. So now, ang bahay na yon is pagmamay-ari na nila pareho, which is ang client at ng bangko. So however, since si John is pangarap na yung bahay na yon, is habang ini-enjoy niyang binabayaran yung bahay na yon, is nag-agree yung bangko na iparenta na lang sa kanya yung bahay na yon at ipabayad na din sa at ibenta na din yung share ng bangko kay John. Eventually, to secure full ownership of the house, the bank also agrees na ibenta sa kanya yung share nila sa bahay na yon until sa naging full ownership na siya ng bahay na yon, which is yung bahay na yon is yung matagal na niyang pangarap. And he will continue parent sa share ng bank. Every month is he made up of two component which is the rent, since he is occupied in the house in the amount paid to purchase the house from the bank. And every month is nagbabayad siya ng installment. When he pay the installment, the bank ownership is pababa ng pababa. So therefore, the rent payable reduces with the purchase hanggang sa naging ultimate ownership na siya ng kanyang dream house.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is the continuation of the report of Ms. Manguramas, which is diminishing musharaka. The diminishing musharaka commonly used for the purpose of financing of fixed assets by various Islamic banks. Or karaniwang ginagamit ito para sa layunin ng pagpupondo ng mga fixed assets, meaning you and the bank participate in joint ownership of a property. This diagram helps us to understand and illustrate how it works. So, makikita natin sa diagram na ito na si buyer ay gustong mag-purchase ng house but he doesn't have etiquette funds. With that, nag-approach siya sa bangko to participate with him para ma-purchase niya yung house. So, ang mangyari is 20% dun sa price ng house ang babayaran ni buyer while ang 80% ay sa bangko. So, with that, 80% doon sa property is pagmamay-ari ng bangko while si buyer is 20%. After nila ma-purchase yung property jointly, the client uses the house for his residential requirement and pays rent to the bank for using it sharing the property. At the same time, the share of the bank is further divided to equal number of units. Each unit representing equal proportion of ownership of the house. The buyer promises to the bank that he will purchase each of its units and agreed time during the musharaka agreement. The rent payable to the bank is also reduced to that extent. This process will continue until the end of stimulated musharaka agreement period, when the client purchases the whole share of the bank, reducing the share of the bank to 0 and increasing of the client share the 100%.
A'udhu billahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Gambrang Siti Nurjahan M. and my report is Mudaraba. Ang Mudaraba ay partnership between the investor and the entrepreneur. Ang investor ay tinatawag natin Rabul Mal, and the entrepreneur or the fund manager is the Mudarib. Ang Rambul Mal ay siya ang magbibigay ng kapital o ang may-ari ng wealth na ima-manage ng Mudarib. And all we know naman na kapag nagpatayo tayo ng isang business or project, hindi lahat ay lumalago or nagsasucceed. So, the Mudarib and the Rambul Mal can take a risk to to the project that they want. Dahil kapag nalugi sila, dalawa sila malulugi. Sa Rumble Mal, malulugi ang perang kanyang ipupuhunan at sa Mudarib naman ay malulugi ang kanyang effort, time at ang kanyang pagod. Pero kapag lumago naman ang kanilang proyekto, ay paghahatian nila ang tubo ng kanilang proyekto ayon sa pinag-agrihan nilang ratio. Ang Rabbul Mal ay may kakayahang magsabi kung saan nila i-invest ng entrepreneur ang kanilang pera. Al-Mudaraba al-Muqayyada can specific or restricted mudaraba. At dapat din nilang pag-usapan kung saan ang specific na gagawin nilang business at kung saan ang specific na lugar nila ito ilalagay. Unless ang negosyante ay pwedeng mag-invest kung saan sa tingin nila ay doon sila mahusay. Al-Mudaraba al-Mutlaka, walang limitasyon o pangkalahatang investment. Mudaraba, unrestricted by time, place, activity, and so on.